So then we are discussing nectar of instruction by Srila Rupa Goswami. Okay. So up until the last class, we have discussed 5 verses. Last class we did text number 5. Everyone agrees? So, what was the flavor of the last 2 classes? I'm talking about at the highest level, what are we talking about?
3 times.
Correct. Okay. So, devotional life has got so many components which we know. Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishtha, Ruchi, and so on and so forth. Okay. So the first 3 verses talked about which aspect? Shraddha. Okay. Shraddha means faith. So the nectar of instruction is taking us from a point of view of low faith. It is taking us to directly to prema. Till the end, towards the end, as you will see that the verses are progressing towards prema bhakti. But right now it is progressing from Shraddha to Sadhu Sangha. So the last 2 verses have been predominantly on Sadhu Sangha. And today's verse is also on Sadhu Sangha. Okay. So next verse onwards we will start moving into the other realms. Okay. So Sadhu Sangha means association of devotees. So association of devotees, we saw very important aspects of related to association of devotees. One aspect we saw was what are the 6 loving exchanges between devotees? Dadati, Prati, Grihanati, Chaiva. If you are not by heart at this verse, please do so. Don't wait for me to send the key memory verse list. Anyway, it is coming soon. So this week you will get it. One person in this group has been chasing me for the exams, but he is not in. He in fact strangulated me also last week in somebody's house. And I have witnesses to that assault. You didn't see?
I also didn't see.
Okay. She caught me like this. A paper ka bhi de raha. Anyway, he will come and ask. Anyway, so papers will come. So I will be setting the nectar of devotion close book exam. I will also be giving the nectar of instruction key memory verses. Okay. But certainly you can be assured that the first 4 verses of the nectar of instruction are key memory verses. I am right now telling you. So don't wait. So start first 4 verses 100% are key memory verses of nectar of instruction. So please start by hearting if you want. Sit for the exam. Even if you are not sitting for the exam, it's a good idea to know these verses because these are oft quoted verses in ISKCON. Everyone must know these 4 verses. So we moved on from the 6 loving exchanges between devotees. You have to close the door, otherwise it's too much of noise. And keep the children silent. It is a job of the government to keep them silent. Whose job it is? The parents. Okay. So I will look at the parents, so that they will immediately go and do the meeting. So the 6 loving exchange between devotees, how relationship will build? Dadati, Prati, Grihanati, which means giving gifts and accepting. Guhyam Akhyati Prachati, which means revealing one's heart in confidence, and also the other way. Other devotees revealing to us their hearts. So that is how relationship will build between Vaishnavas. Bhukte Bhojayate Chaiva, calling for prasadam and accepting prasadam. And these are all 6 varieties of Sadvidam Priti. So we saw that also. And we had a detailed discussion on it. Last class we also saw how to deal with different types of devotees, where we saw there are three classifications of devotees. What are the 3 classifications? Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari and Uttama Adhikari. In Prabhupada's terms, 3rd class devotee, 2nd class devotee and 1st class devotee. Okay. What is the difference between these 3? Kanishta Adhikari, in terms of what parameters do we judge? Faith and knowledge. Faith and knowledge. In terms of both faith and knowledge, the Kanishta Adhikari is weak. Right? So what happens when a Kanishta Adhikari goes out, somebody can, उसको हिंदी में से उल्टा पट्टी पड़ा दिया उसको. He can come back losing the kabaddi match. Okay, and he can come back being convinced with some other philosophy which is not in line with the scriptures. So in terms of knowledge, the Kanishta Adhikari is very weak, so he cannot defeat. But his faith is also weak, therefore he is defeated. Whereas a Madhyamadhikari's knowledge may not be as high as a Uttamadhikari, but his faith is very strong. Madhyamadhikari's faith. So therefore, when a Madhyamadhikari goes to the opposite camp, so a Madhyamadhikari can be defeated in terms of knowledge, but even then his faith is not shaken up. Right? Because faith is very strong. Whereas an Uttamadhikari is both strong in faith as well as knowledge. So when an Uttamadhikari goes, he will definitely defeat the other camp also. And he, in fact, sometimes an Uttamadhikari doesn't even have to open his mouth. Just by seeing him, the other fellow will surrender. It's like that. It's so powerful. Srila Prabhupada was of that stature. Simply by seeing Prabhupada's questions are answered. But not everyone is a Paramahamsa like that. So, for us, we have been advised to increase our faith as well as our knowledge. So, it's Yara Deke Tare Kaha Krishna Upadesh Amara Agya Guru Hana Taraye Desh, which means all of us, it's our responsibility to progress our spiritual life such that we can be of service to mankind in terms of playing the role of a spiritual master who will help facilitate Krishna consciousness for everyone else. So that is what is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's expectation. It doesn't mean that we become an initiating sannyasi in ISKCON necessarily. It simply means that we become so strong in Krishna consciousness that we are able to give Krishna consciousness guidance to other people. So we saw these aspects of, and also we saw that a Kanishta Adhikari does not know how to differentiate between devotees for the purposes of treatment. So sometimes they may deal with the spiritual master very casually. What is that? So they may deal with the spiritual master very casually, right? Or speak to the spiritual master as if the spiritual master is our friend, childhood friend. So a Kanishta Adhikari does not know how to deal with him. Or a Kanishta Adhikari may not know how to talk with devotees who are senior. Okay. So that is the symptom of a Kanishta Adhikari. Doesn't know how to deal with Vaishnavas who are more advanced than them. A Madhyama Adhikari is one who knows that, how to discriminate. So Prema, Maitri, Kripa and Upeksha. We saw that. So he does Prema with devotees who are more advanced, okay, and then serves them. He does friendship with devotees who are equals, and then Upeksha, stays away from people who are not interested in Krishna consciousness or who do not accept their authority. Okay? So Upeksha, Iha Karoti Sa Madhyama, Prema Maitri, Kripa. Kripa, he also gives Kripa to people who are genuinely looking for something, but they do not know. So the Madhyama Adhikari goes out and preaches to each person. That is called as cultivation. So, unless one comes to the point of preaching, one cannot transcend from a stage of Kanishta Adhikari to the platform of Madhyama Adhikari. Why? Only when we start preaching, we can come out of our own problems and bickering to be able to resolve others' problems and bickerings. Okay? So, therefore, it's our duty to quickly lift us from the Kanishta platform to the Madhyama platform. That is why there is so much emphasis on preaching. When we preach, then automatically there is a pressure on us to behave. Does that make sense? Otherwise, the pressure will never come on us, because we are only sitting on the other side and hearing everything. So there is no pressure on us, and we are always judging the speaker. So when we sit on the other side, then we will realize that yes, there is a pressure, and under the pressure, at least we will perform. Right? Even if of our own volition, we may not be wanting to change our behaviors, but simply because we have to do this service, then this service entails certain level of integrity and purity in our thinking and actions. So like that. So one good part is that there is no criteria that has been given. It's never said that to preach a devotee must be Paramahamsa. Otherwise there is no preaching that will happen in this world. Only Prabhupada has to preach. Nobody else can do. Or Guru Maharajas may have to do it. So preaching is not only preaching is not some certification. Because somebody is a preacher, it doesn't mean he is a Paramahamsa. On the other hand, preaching is a part of our sadhana bhakti. Preaching is a part of our duty. It has been advised that we have to preach. So we scale up, whether we are perfect or imperfect, we come to the point of preaching, and through the process of preaching, then we become pure. So a devotee who is seeing faults in the preacher, okay, this is what we are going to talk about now. So how as devotees, we should see people who are engaged in preaching Krishna consciousness. So we are coming slowly, in that direction. Yeah. So let's read today's verse. Text 6. Text 6 says, translation: being situated in his original Krishna conscious position, being situated in his original Krishna conscious position. Who are we talking about here? A pure devotee does not identify with the body. Because a devotee is situated in Krishna conscious position, original Krishna conscious position, he does not identify with his body. Such a devotee should not be seen from a materialistic point of view. So a pure devotee should never be judged from a materialistic point of view. Indeed, one should overlook a devotee having a body born in a low family, a body with a bad complexion, a deformed body, or a diseased or infirm body. According to ordinary vision, such imperfections may seem prominent in the body of a pure devotee, but despite such seeming defects, the body of a pure devotee cannot be polluted. So despite all these seeming defects, the body of a devotee cannot be polluted. It is exactly like the waters of the Ganges, which sometimes during the rainy season are full of bubbles, foam and mud. Sometimes during the rainy season, Ganges has got bubbles, foam and mud. The Ganges waters do not become polluted. Those who are advanced in spiritual understanding will bathe in the Ganges without considering the condition of the water. Let's see that. Those who are advanced in spiritual understanding will still bathe in the Ganges without considering the condition of the water. So it's a very powerful verse. So let's read.
Verse or
quote. Read loudly.
Shuddha Bhakti, the activity of the soul proper. In other words, engagement in the transcendental loving service of the Lord is performed in a liberated condition. In the Bhagavad Gita 14.26, it is stated, Mamchayo Avyapicharena Bhakti Yogena Sevate Sarvana Samadhi. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Avyabhicharini Bhakti means unalloyed devotion. A person engaged in devotional service must be free from material motives. In this Krishna consciousness movement, one's consciousness must be changed. If consciousness is aimed towards material enjoyment, it is material consciousness, and if it is aimed towards serving Krishna, it is Krishna consciousness. A surrendered soul serves Krishna without material considerations. Anya Abhilashita Sunyam. Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. Unalloyed devotional service, which is transcendental to all activities of the mind and the body as jnana, mental speculation, and karma, fruit of work, is called pure Bhakti Yoga.
Doesn't have a book. Share with them.
Bhakti Yoga is the proper activity of the soul, and when one actually engages in unalloyed, uncontaminated devotional service, he is already liberated. Sarvana Samadhi. Krishna's devotee is not subjected to material conditions, even though his bodily features may appear materially conditioned. One should therefore not see a pure devotee from the materialistic point of view. Unless one is actually a devotee, he cannot see another devotee perfectly. As explained in the previous verse, there are three types of devotees: Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. The Kanishta Adhikari cannot distinguish between a devotee and a non-devotee. He is simply concerned with worshipping the deity in the temple. A Madhyama Adhikari, however, can distinguish between the devotee and non-devotee, as well as between the devotee and the Lord. Thus, he treats the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the devotee and the non-devotee, in different ways.
Okay. So what are the points here?
understand the other pure devotee which is mentioned in the translations, and do not look at the body part, because in order to understand that aspect, you need to be pure.
What is the key point here?
One must possess quality to understand the quality of others. Like where it says, Prabhupada saying that you must be devotee at least to understand the devotee. Otherwise one may deal, one must possess some qualities to find out, to identify the quality in others.
One must go beyond the external.
Yeah, so it says
So can I expand? What is the key point here?
Krishna's devotees are not subjected to material conditions, even though their bodily features may appear.
What's your understanding of it?
So,
What's the key point? Prabhupada is talking.
It's the consciousness of the person rather than the
Correct. So bhakti is not external. A devotee is advanced or not by the level of his consciousness, not by any external symptom. That is the key point. Okay, go ahead. What other points are there? So what differentiates between a Kanishta, Madhyama and Uttamadhikari? Nothing but the level of Krishna consciousness. That is all. There is no other consideration other than that.
The person's individual consciousness.
The person's individual Krishna consciousness.
Read.
No. What are the other points? There are some other points which Prabhupada is making. थक गए कोर्टयार्ड में No other points? We are discussing text 6.
Krishna consciousness aimed at changing one consciousness. Everybody is conscious, so they are dealing with the material enjoyment. That means they have material consciousness. So once they become Krishna conscious, then they become spiritual conscious.
Assume that you are giving a bhakti, you are giving a class, and you have just read this verse, and everyone is looking at you to explain. Think like, then points will come. Okay. Right now, somebody is coming and asking, Mataji, ये कुछ लिखा है इधर समझ में नहीं आया, जरा समझाइए ना please. प्रभु जी, समझाओ ना. What will you do? You will sit silent. Obviously, you will say something, right? So then you will apply your mind to this verse. That is one of the reasons one must take to preaching. मैं तो फिर क्या है, हम आंसर करेंगे नहीं करेंगे ठीक है, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता. But when you are on the spot, you will have to tell something about that. So then you will be compelled to study, internalize, and then communicate. So that is how we must study. As if next day we have to give a class. Everything you study thinking that I am going to give a class now on this. Then you will find that the depth of your reading is scaling up. This is a tip. 100% it will work. Okay.
And one should introspect, I mean, it is Kanishta, Madhyama or Uttama, best to introspect, and then we can, by introspecting, we can, what I was thinking is, not find fault with others. Am I communicating from this?
Yes.
No.
Whatever you said, I heard. I understood.
But
from this paragraph.
Previous verse here. You know how the previous when I stopped, you said like it is internal. So no, even as a preacher, if I have faults, but if I am under that preacher, I should not be in a level of finding faults with them. I should see that I have so many faults. So if I'm saying for myself, be hard on me, then I can be lenient on others.
Yes. Good point.
Srila Prabhupada has also given the kind of who is a real pure devotee. Like he says that one who is engaged in devotional service unfailing in all circumstances. And then he is, sort of going there and saying that we cannot judge this kind of a person just when he is. He is actually laying out what is the characteristics or what are the qualities of such a person.
What is the quality of a pure devotee? Unfailing in all circumstances. Okay, Prabhupada is writing something else also. Who is a pure devotee? Exactly. Who is completely, his material desires have been exhausted. There is no trace of material desire. Such a person only can be called as a pure devotee. Only when we do not have material desires can we say that we have sagunan samatiteta. We have transcended the three modes of material nature. As long as we do not transcend the three modes of material nature, the symptom of that is what? Material desires. So if we have material desires, that means we have not transcended the three modes of material nature. So Prabhupada is saying that a pure devotee is one who is anya abhilashita shunyam and jnana karmadi anavritam, who does not have any other desire but to use the rest of his life to only act to please the Lord. Pleasing the Lord means what? How do we know that we are pleasing the Lord? We will know that. Hands up if we will know that we are pleasing the Lord. Only one hand is going up. We will know ourselves we are pleasing the Lord. How do we know that we are acting to please the Lord? Through Guru only we will know. Na? Through the Guru, Sadhu and Shastra we will know. So if we are acting in accordance with that, we know that we are pleasing. The moment we are not acting in accordance with this, we know that we are not pleasing. Okay? So therefore, a pure devotee is one who is beyond the three modes, who doesn't have any other desires other than to please the Lord. Which means what? How does the pure devotee know that a pure devotee is also under the shelter of another pure devotee? Like that. So the pure devotee, for example, Srila Prabhupada, his sole purpose of in this material world was what? Not to see different places, foreign take some photographs and put on Facebook. Not that. His goal was what? Purely to serve the mission of his spiritual master. So every minute he only lived for that purpose. Okay. So once Shankaracharya Das Adhikari Maharaj is coming here next week, once he mentioned that all of us must develop the missionary zeal and spirit. Because Shankaracharya Das Adhikari is a very good example of a person who is on a man with a mission. He's got no other agenda, just to simply cut our ignorance and lead us to Krishna. He is like a father who is a very strict father, like that. Okay. So we have to develop a missionary spirit in our Krishna consciousness. If we are not developing missionary spirit, then we will not get there. Right? If we are taking a very lukewarm approach to bhakti, like that, if this is our approach to bhakti, then our progress will also be chalta hai. Krishna will also say chalta hai. Thoda aur janam le lo. आराम से आओ, कोई क्या टेंशन है? तुम भी खुश है इधर, मैं तुमको बोल ही नहीं रहा हूँ इधर आओ करके. I will also provide everything, food, water, everything is available. अबे तुमने इतना माला chanting किया है, तो you will get a human form of life anyway. But then we have to understand that the way the world is progressing, today we are able to chant Hare Krishna. Tomorrow, just imagine if today we are seeing so much of restrictions in many countries. People say that you have to, the moment you do devotional service, your neck is chopped off. Tomorrow that situation will come to all of us also. There may be a rule that nobody can chant the name of Krishna, otherwise your neck and head, body will be two separate pieces. So it can come to that. And Bhagavatam is predicting that these Yavana, Chandala, they will rule the world eventually. Okay. So do we want to come back into this material world? Do we want to take it very easy and say that Manusha Janam to guarantee, Agla Janam mein pakka bhakti karunga? Practicing bhakti is going to become even more and more difficult as we enter Kali Yuga more and more and more. Today at least we can say that 8 hours, maximum 9 hours we will work, and 10 hours we will work. But it is said that people have to work 24 hours and people will run away to the mountains. Bhagavatam is saying. So much will be the pressure and taxes on us. People will run away from the administration and take shelter in the mountains. So if we cannot chant, if we cannot lift our Krishna consciousness now in this 2016, we think that we can lift it later on. 100% we will not be able to. So it is now or more difficult later on. Never though you cannot say, because people, Paramahamsas may come even in that situation. But then we all know our situation. Even when everything is good, still we are what we are. Right? Our sadhana is what it is. Right? So therefore, Sankarshan Das Adhikari, his point is very deep. We have to have a missionary zeal. Prabhupada had that missionary spirit. He was a man with a mission. So all of us have to become that. Now if all of us have to become that, then the time to start is now. We have to put the past behind. Even today we have an opportunity. At every moment we have that opportunity. So abhi se I will become serious. Abhi se I will become serious. Like that. And that is same true for me also. Like that. So all of us have to take that, develop that missionary spirit within us. Only when we develop that missionary spirit can we transcend the three modes of material nature.
One point we Prabhupada mentioned here that material desires determine the level of consciousness.
Yes.
Or the level of development. Now, how is it practically possible in this day and age to have Anyavidashika Shuddha? Because with given responsibilities and everything, the duty has to be there. And I understand that we do it for the raising the family in Krishna consciousness and everything. But mind is time and again it will take the diversion route. Initially we do it for the family and then try to raise more and more money, do more and more things.
Yeah, that is because of association. If we are constantly in association of devotees who are more advanced than us, then it is like the rod which is placed in fire. The rod will acquire the qualities of the fire. Okay. So for example, as I told last time, every weekend I look for Gopal Prabhu, where is he? So I take some opportunities I'm trying to take to sit with him and discuss. Sitting with him and discussing gives me some kind of reminder that after 5 days of hectic work in office, working in a very high pressure environment in mode of passion, then sitting with at least brahmacharis towards the end who have nothing to do in this life except who have left everything just to focus on the mission of the Lord. Then at least kuch to hawa aayega na, some hawa will come towards us. 5 minutes bhi aisa logon ke sath baithenge, so we will get some hawa from them. But imagine if we are constantly taking their association, how nice it will be. So therefore it's a very simple matter. It's a simple matter of Pushyanticha Ramanticha, being with devotees and who are more advanced than us, taking their association. Of course, we have to give our time to various things. We have to, because we are living here, and because of our duties, we have to give time. We have to have time with senior devotees, with peers, as well as with juniors. So we have to do all the three in our life. So we have to balance all the three. If we spend too much time only with our juniors, preaching, then we will not be able to lift our game. If we only spend time with seniors, saying that मैं आपके चरण में रहूँगा, then who will spread the mission, right? And if we spend too much time only with peers, okay, in fact, in one sense, peer association is the best, because in peer association our false ego is tested to the maximum, right? But if we only spend time with peers, then what will happen after some time? That Jagjit Singh song is the Rishton Mein Darar Aayi. You know that song? There was a serial in television. So Rishton mein kya hota hai? Darar aa jata hai. That is because we are only spending time with peers. Okay. So as I mentioned, at the start of the class, those who are coming late for the class, they will be marked down at least 25%. The Bhakti Shastri, and they may not get their certificate. So don't blame me for that. If you want certificate, be here on time for the class. Then don't manhandle and ask for exam papers. Okay. We're coming back. What were you discussing?
Rishton mein darar hai.
Rishton mein darar hai. If you remember. So too much spending time with peers will eventually mean, why it happens, spending too much time with peers. क्यों रिश्तों में दरार आती है? Because the three modes of material nature are constantly acting on us. Does it make sense? So eventually वो आ जाएगा. The three modes will catch up with us.
Even in devotee association.
Pardon me?
Even in devotee association.
Even devotee association is talking about. Non-devotee तो पूछो ही मत. We are not even talking about it. It's a given. Because asat sang tyag is Vaishnava achar. Asat sang doesn't mean association with non-devotees. Asat sang means association with people who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. There may be who is a non-devotee at the end of it? Actually, nobody is a non-devotee. Okay? But there are people who are definitely not interested in Krishna consciousness. We don't associate with them. But people who are ignorant of Krishna consciousness, right? Then we should associate with them and give our association to them, to lift them. But if we only do that, then we will become proud, thinking that I am a big preacher. Okay? So we should take shelter of seniors. With peers, we should spend quite a lot of time. In fact, Radhanath Maharaj once was saying that one should spend quite a lot of time with peers, because sometimes the seniors may not be there to chastise us, but sometimes peers also chastise us. Alright, so let's go ahead. So who are now? Mataji will be. बुक का है वो नहीं वो ई बुक है
No one should criticize the bodily defects of a pure devotee. If there are such defects, they should be overlooked. What should be taken into account is the spiritual master's main business, which is devotional service, pure service to the Supreme Lord, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Even if a devotee sometimes seems to engage in abominable activities, he should be considered a sadhu, a saintly person, because his actual identity is that of one engaged in loving service of the Lord. In other words, he is not to be considered an ordinary human being. Even though a pure devotee may not be born in a Brahmana or a Goswami family, if he is engaged in the service of the Lord, he should not be neglected. In actuality, there cannot be a family of Goswamis based on material considerations, caste or heredity. The Goswami title is actually the monopoly of the pure devotees. Thus we speak of the 6 Goswamis, headed by Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami had practically become Mohammedans and had therefore changed their names to the Birakhas and Sakar Malik. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself made them Goswamis. Therefore, the Goswami title is not hereditary. The word Goswami refers to one who cannot control his senses. Who can control his senses?
तो मैं भी गोस्वामी
Who is the master of his senses? A devotee is not controlled by the senses, but is the controller of the senses. Consequently, he should be called Swami or Goswami, even though he may not be born in a Goswami family. I'll continue. According to this formula, the Goswami, who are descendants of Sri Nityanand Prabhu and Sri Advaita Prabhu, are certainly devotees, but devotees coming from other families should not be discriminated against. Indeed, whether the devotee come from a family of previous acharya or from an ordinary family, they should be treated equally. One should not think, oh, here is an American Goswami, and discriminate against him. Nor should one think, here is a Nityanand Vamsa Goswami. There is an undercurrent of protest against our awarding the title of Goswami to the American Vaishnavas of the Krishna consciousness movement. Sometimes people flatly tell the American devotees that their sannyas or title of Goswami is not qualified. However, according to the statements of Rupa Goswami in this verse, an American Goswami and a Goswami in a family of acharyas are not different. On the other hand, a devotee who has attained the title of a Goswami but is not born of a Brahmana father or of a Goswami in the family of Nityananda Advaita Prabhu should not be artificially puffed up by thinking that he has become a Goswami. He should always remember that as soon as he becomes materially puffed up, he immediately falls down. This Krishna consciousness movement is a transcendental science and there is no room for jealousy. This movement is meant for Paramhamsas who are completely free from all jealousy. One should not be jealous whether he is born in a family of Goswamis or has a title of a Goswami awarded to him. As soon as anyone becomes envious, he falls from the platform of Paramhamsa.
So what are the points here? Again, imagine you have been put in a class, this paragraph has been read and you have to explain. Think like that. Surya Krishna Prabhu, point to program आया है. This passage has been read. Everyone is looking at your face.
The Brahmana of Goswami is known by tasks or birth-inspired qualities and their to the degree they can control their senses.
Shativarnamaya system, like how it says guna and karma, like that Goswami is one who's conquered his senses. So it doesn't matter where they are born, which caste, color, it doesn't apply.
What are situations when this happens? Nityananda ठीक है, but what is the common situation when it happens in our lives?
When the family
Initiation.
Initiation. What? Can you expand on that? Expand.
Initiation, we are Indian, then looking for Indian
Yes. So this comes when we are choosing a spiritual master. So people do not have an understanding of what is a Goswami. They think that only Indians can be spiritual masters. If everyone starts thinking like that in every country, then you can imagine. So this is actually called as racist attitude. Only thinking that only Indians can be Paramahamsas. So Paramahamsas got nothing to do with birth at all. It has to do with consciousness and consciousness only. Yeah. So when people are choosing a spiritual master, then the criteria of which country the spiritual master comes from should not actually matter at all. What should only matter is that spiritual master able to inspire me in my Krishna consciousness, such that I am willing to change my life, my lifestyle, my practices, my habits, and be able to surrender to this particular spiritual master. So that is what matters at the end of the day. So it is the Vani, it is what the spiritual master speaks. It is the life of the spiritual master, what he is teaching by his own precept or example. That is what matters, in our inspiration to surrender to someone. Other things are completely external, they do not matter. So, like Gaurang Prabhu says, Lobhi Guru, Lalchi Chela, dono ka narak mein thela thela. So, which means that unless we have real pure intentions in Krishna consciousness, then we will not come to the feet of the right spiritual master. Now, when I am saying this, I am also saying that the spiritual master may be bona fide, but because our intentions are not bona fide in taking shelter from that specific spiritual master, then we may still not derive satisfaction after taking initiation from that spiritual master. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes we may tend to take initiation from a spiritual master simply because, for some external reason. Okay, saying that spiritual master, he was the only man who asked me how is my health. Or he was the spiritual master, came and मेरे बच्चों के साथ इतना अच्छा से deal किया. Then he did like this to my child. Therefore, I am surrendering. Yes, no doubt about it that we have to be appreciative of the fact that the spiritual master has been very kind, but this cannot be the only consideration. At the end of the day, we must derive inspiration to progress in Krishna consciousness from the words of that spiritual master. Now there is nothing wrong with that spiritual master. Spiritual master obviously he is kind to everyone. Suhridam Sarva, he is everyone's, he is a well-wisher of everyone. What is that verse called as? The symptoms of a Mahatma. No. Titikshava Karunika, Suhrida Sarvadehina, Ajata Shatrava Shanta, Sadava Sadhu Bhushana. So a spiritual master will be, equal with everyone. But I should not, go to the spiritual master because he speaks the same language, mother tongue as mine, or for whatever those reasons. Because generally people tend to think like that, and then there is dissatisfaction. If only that becomes the criteria. It's not wrong saying that no, because he speaks my mother tongue, therefore I will not surrender to him. No, that's not what we are saying. We are only saying that should not be the primary criteria. If incidentally that happens, then that is a bonus. Of course, for some devotees, there are very practical considerations. For example, suppose someone does not understand English at all, so and the spiritual master doesn't speak English, their mother tongue, then it may be very practical for them to look for a spiritual master who is also familiar with that particular language, so that there is a connect. But the essential principle is to have a spiritual connect. If language facilitates that, then there is no problem. But it should not, one should not think that if I take initiation, I will only take from an Indian bodied spiritual master. Or one should not even make the mistake of saying that an Indian bodied spiritual master is more advanced than a Western bodied spiritual master. If we do that, then we will never progress in our Krishna consciousness. Because our soch bahut chota hai. We are the biggest racist thinkers, even as devotees. We think like that. Okay? It's a very big offense. So, our spiritual masters themselves are leading us by their own example. For example, if we see in our movement, there are white spiritual masters, there are black spiritual masters, and there are brown spiritual masters. Okay? So, all of them, we have seen exalted personalities coming from every caste, creed, color, country. Why? Because they are all in only one mission. That is service to their spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. If you see them, if they would have thought, if for example, my Acharya is American, if he would have thought, no, I will surrender only to an American spiritual master, then would he have surrendered to Srila Prabhupada? If everyone starts thinking like that, there wouldn't be any ISKCON at all. And if there is no ISKCON, today we will be sitting in a pub or a cinema theatre at this point in time. So because they didn't think like that, then we should also not think like that. There is a big responsibility. Does it make sense? Now we will read till the end. Who will read fast? Shabdam Prabhu. Express train. होगा? नहीं. कोशिश करो. Lecture of instruction पढ़ रहे हैं. Text 6.
If we consider the bodily effects of a Vaishnava, we should understand that we are committing an offense.
थोड़ा loudly.
We are committing an offense at the lotus feet of the Vaishnava. An offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava is very serious. Indeed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has described this offense as Hatimata, the mad elephant offense. A mad elephant can create a disaster, especially when he enters into a nicely trimmed garden. One should therefore be very careful not to commit any offense against a Vaishnava. Every devotee should be ready to take instructions from a superior Vaishnava, and a superior Vaishnava must be ready to help an inferior Vaishnava in all respects. One is superior or inferior according to his spiritual development in Krishna consciousness. One is forbidden to observe the activities of a pure Vaishnava from a material point of view. For the neophyte especially, considering a pure devotee from a material point of view is very injurious. One should therefore avoid observing a pure devotee externally, but should try to see the internal features and understand how he is engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. In this way, one can avoid seeing the pure devotee from a material point of view, and thus one can gradually become a purified devotee himself. Those who think that Krishna consciousness is limited to a certain section of people, a certain section of devotee or a certain tract of land are generally prone to see the external features of the devotee. Such neophyte unable to appreciate the exalted service of the advanced devotee bring the Bhagavata to their platform. We experience such difficulty in propagating this Krishna consciousness all over the world. Unfortunately, we are surrounded by neophyte brothers who do not appreciate the extraordinary activities of spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world. They simply try to bring us to their platform, and they try to criticize us in every respect. We very much regret that their naive activities and poor fund of knowledge. An empowered person who is actually engaged in the confidential service of the Lord should not be treated as an ordinary human being. For it is stated that unless one is empowered by Krishna, one cannot spread the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world.
Okay, I'll do it. We'll stop here and then discuss. This is another problem. You understand Prabhupada, क्या problems he is facing now? You know? What is the point?
That paragraph Prabhupada is talking about is uncooperative God brothers. That he was trying to get help, but they were not helping. Okay, there is
Mainly about committing offences, and one should avoid offences at any cost.
What do you think is happening here?
because of
What must have happened to Prabhupada
Criticism.
for him to write this?
Devotee must have, like you mentioned about the Nityananda Vamsa, so devotee must have left after coming to Krishna consciousness.
But devotee, that Nityananda was not Prabhupada's god brother.
Right.
They were coming under some other lineage. They said the whole lineage of ISKCON is dubious. That's what they said.
Because they were giving
Who are these people?
Goswami titles to Western.
These are Prabhupada's god brothers.
They were criticizing his disciples.
Huh?
They were criticizing the American disciples. So that's why
They were criticizing the disciples or criticizing Prabhupada?
Prabhupada himself.
Actually, they were criticizing Prabhupada. Why was it happening?
Envy.
Correct. That is what Prabhupada is again writing back. One should not be jealous. Because no one has been able to bring so many hordes and hordes of Westerners into India, into Vrindavan.
Proper understanding of scriptures also, poor fund of knowledge.
Yes.
he's saying.
Prabhupada had even asked for one mridanga from his god brothers to be shipped to United States, but no one bothered to even support him in that sense. Of course, there are one or two god brothers who are very supportive. Prabhupada later says, but these are people who were not appreciated. On the other hand, they were criticizing Srila Prabhupada all the time. Most of the time they spent in criticizing how he can go to the West, how can you leave Vrindavan, all those things they started saying. How can he give initiation to white-bodied men and women? How can he give Brahman Diksha to women? Women cannot touch the altar. So many things. All these things they quoted because that was the they couldn't think out of the box. Prabhupada knew in Kali Yuga, he knew that when he had to preach in the West, if you see only men can do something, women cannot do anything, Krishna consciousness movement would have never lifted. In India it may be acceptable, okay, but in the West it's all about gender equality. So you can imagine Prabhupada understood this mood in Western countries. Kitna Prabhupada, abhi samajh mein aa raha hai. But Prabhupada was such a doordarshi, he could understand that Western countries, if you don't provide equal opportunities, nothing will succeed. Because that was the moment where the women's liberation was also peaking and hippie culture was coming in. So you can imagine, what all Prabhupada had to do. So Prabhupada's mission was very clear: to hell with the rules and regulations. Why? Sarva dharman parityajya mamapekam sharanam. Prabhupada was completely clear of the philosophy. So he took a very pragmatic stance. Said, okay, chalo, sab log aajo. Somehow you come to Krishna consciousness. Because all the rules eventually is what? Atha pumbir dvijashreshtas varnashrama vibhagashah so anushtistasya dharmasya samasiddhi haritoshanam. The whole goal of varnashrama dharma is only to make people surrender to Krishna. The whole goal of varnashrama dharma is that. So if I have to make any adjustments to dharma so that people can surrender to Krishna, so dharma can be forsaken for the purpose of sharanagati, for the purpose of surrender. So this is a beautiful aspect of Prabhupada, which many acharyas, no acharya I think has gone to this extent. Yes, Ramanujacharya, did he change the rules of the game? Yes, he did. He was another revolutionary acharya. Though Ramanujacharya was told, you should not give Om Namo Narayana mantra to anyone, keep it secret. What did he do? He shouted from that. What is the place called as? Trikoshti. He shouted loudly Om Namo Narayana so that everyone can benefit. When his spiritual master told him, you will go to hell, he said, if one Ramanujacharya goes to hell, kya farak padta hai? Itne logon ka uddhar ho raha hai. This is called as compassion. So his spiritual master said, I surrender to you, you are the acharya, real acharya. So this happened not only in ISKCON, Sri Sampradaya. Ramanujacharya changed the rules of the game. Prabhupada also changed the rules of the game. So we have to understand so much difficulties he has gone through, which is reflecting in his purports. So when we read the purport, we must try to understand the mood of the acharya. Why he is writing the way he is writing. Prabhupada said, my purports are my devotional expressions. These purports are Prabhupada's personal realizations. It's as good as Prabhupada is speaking to us his realizations on this verse. So if we study like that, then we will be able to extract more and more juice out of that verse, rather than just a very superficial smattering of understanding of things like that. Any questions so far? Or any comments? Before we go to the last section.
The dharma means surrendering all the dharma, lower level dharma, for the sake of priority.
Anything else? No points? So we'll read the last again, Mataji, Pankajani Mataji. Yours.
When one thus criticizes a pure devotee, he commits an offense, Vaishnava aparad, that is very obstructive and dangerous for those who desire to advance in Krishna consciousness. A person cannot derive any spiritual benefit when he offends the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. Everyone should therefore be very careful not to be jealous of an empowered Vaishnava or a Shuddha Vaishnava. It is also an offense to consider an empowered Vaishnava an object of disciplinary action. It is offensive to try to give him advice or to correct him. One can distinguish between a neophyte Vaishnava and an advanced Vaishnava by their activities. The advanced Vaishnava is always situated as a spiritual master, and the neophyte is always considered as his disciple. The spiritual master must not be subjected to the advice of a disciple, nor should the spiritual master...
Again, the nice words. You have to manage it.
Nor should a spiritual master be obliged to take instructions from those who are not his disciples. This is the sum and substance of Srila Rupa Goswami's advice in the 6th verse.
What are the points here?
Jealousy is the main feeling that categorizes offense. Because, like in your case, Vishwatma Prabhu was chastising you, but he wasn't chastising out of jealousy. He was chastising you out of, so that is not an offense. Because he was chastising out of good. But the jealousy he mentions, Prabhupada clearly mentions. So if you are chastising anyone with that jealous feeling, then it becomes an offense.
Envious.
Envious.
Everyone was speaking so much in the courtyard. Here everyone is silent. I don't know why. What happens when you come inside the courtyard? Nobody is so silent outside. Huh?
There is more oxygen outside.
I think Prabhu, your Srila Prabhupada is also sort of drawing out saying that you should not consider an empowered Vaishnava as an object of disciplinary action. So a mood of surrender or a mood of sort of being, he says, a mood of surrender. So I heard in the lecture that sometimes you may not agree to what is really being done around you or has been, what an authority is doing, but it is best to keep quiet because in time it will be revealed that the way a particular situation was, it was the Lord's will that should be done like that. So, yeah.
Of course, if an authority we are saying is involved in obnoxious activities and we have seen it, then obviously we can bring it to the notice of other senior authorities. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But we don't criticize that and go on criticizing that person all over the congregation. Does it make sense? So there is a way of addressing. If somebody is let's say, if somebody is in a position of authority and the person is falling down, and if we have tangible, witness around that, then we can discuss this with other authorities. The fall down of some spiritual masters has come to know only because someone witnessed, and therefore they were saved actually from further fall down. Right? But of course, those incidents are rare. Usually it's better to mind our own business in this world. And if we don't do that, then sometimes Krishna teaches us to mind our own business. Like that. But obviously minding our own business doesn't mean being callous to the sufferings of others. So we still have to extend ourselves where it is required to extend ourselves with pure motives, not with malicious desires in our heart. Does it make sense? Like that. Okay. So, therefore, correcting senior authorities is not usually our business, as Mataji rightly pointed out. So we don't usually do that. Even if we see something, then it is a good idea to just discuss our concern with someone whose authority they will accept or they are under. Okay. So, there is one more point Prabhupada mentions here. The key point Prabhupada is mentioning here, one should not criticize a pure devotee. Okay. Sadhu Ninda can lead to disaster in our spiritual life. It will lead to gradual fall down in our spiritual life. Sadhu Ninda immediately when we do sadhu ninda, we will find that our material desires are going up. If we do not have good relationships with Vaishnavas, we will see that soon our material desires are going up, and whatever that decisions and actions that we do thereof will be subjected to the three modes of material nature. We will either be acting in mode of goodness, or we will be acting in mode of passion, or we will be acting in a mode of ignorance. Okay? So, Srimad Bhagavatam is and Chaitanya Charitamrita are testimony to that. There are quite a lot of incidences. What are some of the incidences where you have seen because of offense somebody has got ruined in Srimad Bhagavatam? Ambarish Maharaj got ruined because he offended someone. Durvasa Muni, who he offended Ambarish Maharaj, and therefore even Sudarshan Chakra could not save him. Right? Who else?
Indra offended his
Many times, not once. We see Indra doing it. Okay. So, one of the most powerful examples when it comes to Vaishnava Aparadh quoted in ISKCON is that of Daksha Prajapati. You had a point?
Indra offended whom?
इसको नहीं किया है मुझे. The whole of Bhagavatam, everything is happening starting from Indra's offense, where the demigods are weakened because of Guru Aparadh. We have seen that Guru Aparadh weakens them, and every time the Asura is able to win at that time only. So what is the learning for them? We should not allow the Asura inside our heart inside our mind to take over the Paramatma. If we allow that, then we become very weak. We become spiritually weak. So therefore it is our duty to protect our own spiritual lives. So the common example that is given is of Daksha Prajapati. Okay. So Daksha Prajapati, what was his problem? What was his mistake? How many of you have studied that pastime?
He did not respect Lord Shiva.
Why?
Because
Lord Shiva lives in the crematorium.
So what was he doing? Apply the principles you have learned. He judged Shiva by the external. Because he said, "तो crematorium में रहने वाला आदमी है. He's got skull around his neck. Oh, he's not even dressed like a gentleman." Bhakti Jaru Maharaj was giving a class. He said, the exalted devotees may not look like Amitabh Bachchan. Bhakti Jaru Maharaj, this is not me. Bhakti Jaru Maharaj. So Daksha, he at every point in time he was judging Lord Shiva externally. That is the biggest mistake he did. Because of which he had some strange opinions about Lord Shiva. He did not realize Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. He completely failed to realize who is Lord Shiva. And when you fail to realize, he failed to therefore realize the powers of Lord Shiva also. As a result of that. So, and what happened was, finally everything in the Daksha Yajna, everything came to all the pent up disrespect he had for Lord Shiva suddenly burst out. Sometimes we disrespect a person so much, उसके बारे में we keep meditating. ये ऐसा कैसा है, ये ऐसा कैसा है, and we keep on meditating about that, and one day what happens? The frog comes out of the mouth because it is there in the consciousness. तो दिल में है, eventually वो ज़बान में आ ही जाएगा. Some point in time it will come out like a frog. Okay, so Prabhupada, there's an interesting analogy. In English there is a saying, the last straw that broke a camel's back. Anyone has heard this? The last straw that broke a camel's back. The last straw that broke a camel's back. Okay? Now what do you mean by that? Explain. What do you mean by that? What is it trying to say?
Actually, that straw itself is not capable of breaking the camel's back. But it had so much of.
Already भी इतना लोड उसके ऊपर था. तो finally वो एक straw the camel गया नीचे. So that is what happened to. So it was years of judging, and one day what happened? It came out like that. So this is one great example. And therefore what happened? Daksha could not even, he even lost his attachment to his own daughter, who was Sati. Right? Sati, no. She said, "Okay, my father has not invited my husband, but still my father, I can go into the yajna anytime." So she went and Daksha insulted her also. Right? And when the Lord Shiva came, he again insulted Lord Shiva. Right? And then what happened? As a result of that, Daksha's head was chopped off. And also the people who performed, I think the Bhrigu Muni, who was there in the yajna, Bhrigu Muni, even everyone had to pay for his or her follies very dearly. Daksha paid with his life for that offense. Right? So therefore Prabhupada says that Vaishnava Vrinda is very dangerous for those who are desiring to advance in Krishna consciousness. Now, as regards judging devotees externally, we do type A and type B. Two types of mistakes we can do. Seeing the unkempt external appearance of a devotee, we may think, he's a devotee. Not even combing his hair, and look at him. He's having a fata hua chadar pehen ke aaya hai, fata hua torn cloth he is wearing. He's not shaven like cleanly. Doesn't seem to have had a haircut for quite some time. So on one hand we can judge a devotee, we can consider someone who looks very impoverished, and then we can say he is not an advanced devotee. Whereas Bhagavad bola to aisa ekdam takatak hona chahiye. What is takatak in Hindi? It's a pakka. One day, when I started using this tilak template, I used that in Toronto somewhere for the first time, and I wore a tilak nicely, and then I wore new dhoti, and so one devotee came in, "Prabhu, you're looking paka," he said. "Paka Vaishnava," he said. So, matlab kya? Ekdam aisa pakka, tilak, everything dhoti, iron, first class, takatak devotee. Whereas, so when we see that, we think that the devotee is very organized and perfect, etc. But devotional life is all about what is going on inside. It has got nothing to do with externals. Now, pure devotees, their only goal is what? To please Krishna. You cannot judge a devotee because they are dressing up very nicely. Even in Janmashtami, we have seen many Prabhujis and Matajis, they dress up very nicely. And it is actually required to do so. We have to, as much as possible, we have to be very presentable when we go in front of the Lord. Of course, we don't dress up to show, off something. So I have got a brand new, goggles or something like that. Like a hero one kya, of course, we don't do that. Okay? But there is nothing wrong in dressing up nicely and coming to the temple. So, just because a devotee is dressed up nicely, we cannot make that error saying that, hey, kya hai, aisa dress up karke aata hai, gold pehne ka kya zarurat hai, kanti mala bas ho gaya na. No, not like that. People can wear kanti mala and have all garbage inside the heart. Somebody can be externally wearing an ornament to become presentable to deities, and they may be completely detached from those ornaments. Right? So, and the other error. Because a devotee is not dressed up so nicely, therefore he cannot be a pakka devotee. That is also bad. If you see Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, their whole purpose was what? They were so busy in their mission to fulfill Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission that they didn't care about external grooming at all. So if you see the Goswamis, so again in this context only Bhakti Charu Maharaj said, don't think that Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami look like Amitabh Bachchan. In fact, if actually they come in front of us, you will find someone who is very thin, emaciated, with a cow pin. So koi aayega to somebody will not give a second look also. It's like that. But they are our acharyas. Picture mein dekhoge to fir you realize one of the pictures they are all there are many pictures. One they are very bald and effulgent, they don't have any hair, and then they are very effulgent. And another pictures also you will find that they are very emaciated and thin. Actually that is how they were. Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami. So therefore externally they cannot be just like that. So it is said that a sadhu cannot be understood by the eyes. A sadhu has to be heard from the ears. By eyes we will judge externally, but from the ears, that is a way of understanding the sadhu. So by the Vani, we should know them, not by their external appearance. Okay. So Srila Prabhupada said that we must understand the sadhu, we must by knowing how much he likes to give Krishna consciousness to others. So there is one song also, no? In Guru Puja we sing, O He Vaishnava Thakur. We say, Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite. Or what is the next line? Forgot.
I'm coming after you.
Actually correct. Tomara karuna sa Krishna dite, Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite paro. Tomara karuna. Oh, last line. Dhari tava pache pache. Last line. So there also it is mentioned that we cannot. These are the people who carry Krishna in the heart. So Prabhupada earlier gives the example of the Ganges. We discussed, right? The Ganges also gets purified because these personalities who carry Krishna in their heart take bath in the Ganges. So even if Ramdiri Ganga Maili happens, because of people bathing in Ganga, then what happens? These people decontaminate the Ganga because they carry the Lord in their heart. So we cannot see them externally. Otherwise we will be doing mistake. On the other hand, someone who is very, very opulently dressed, such a mistake also we cannot say that now kya hai, itna opulently dressed, he cannot be a devotee. That is what Pundarik Vidyanidhi is. So on one hand, Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami type A problem. On the other hand, Rupa Goswami. So when Mukunda Sarkar or Mukunda Dutt, who took Gadadhar Pandit to him? Mukundan. So when Mukunda Dutt took Gadadhar Pandit for the to say that, okay, I will show you a very advanced personality. What was happening? Pundarik Vidyanidhi was sitting with a hookah, like that, and he was having pan, and it was almost like the Dumra Jan mein baitha rehta na. So like you can imagine, no? Not which movie was that? Oh, aisa Nasruddin Shah is sitting, no, in one movie. Like a Shahan Shah, I forgot. No, whenever I imagine that one because I can understand only through Bhakti. Mirch masala, no? What was this? Something like that. He was someone king somewhere. He's sitting in the, I don't know which movie it was. One of those. No?
Nobody watches a Bollywood movie.
ठीक है. All right.
But used to watch.
Huh?
What? Nobody watches.
God का दूध पी के knows everything. He will tell me on Monday.
Okay.
That day he only told me about one movie. And I had doubts, he clarified. When we are coming back from Docklands, I was shocked.
You don't judge generally by external.
Huh?
Internal.
Internal. Internally, he always meditates on Krishna. Alright, so he was sitting with his hookah and betel nut. So then what happened? Gadadhar Pandit for a moment made an offense. He said, how can I surrender? But then when Mukunda Datta said one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, he came out of the... Immediately what happened? Canopy se bahar aa gaye and he started tearing his dress.
Rolling.
Pundarik Vidyanidhi and then rolling on the ground in ecstasy. Krishna like that. Okay. So from then Gadadhar Pandit realized, my God, 1 second mein 1 Bhagavatam verse bola, he got directly into Ashta Sattvika Bhav, which takes devotees lifetime of perfection to achieve. No? In 1 second Pundarik Vidyanidhi was rolling on the ground like that. Of course, it's a pastime. Who was Pundarik Vidyanidhi? He was another than? Who was that? Vrishabhanu. So he is another than Vrishabhanu in Krishna Lila. He came as Pundarik Vidyanidhi. So and Gadadhar Pandit is another than Radharani. In the male form, correct, no? So then Radharani is saying like that, so a guru. So this pastime is another example. Don't see the external appearance of a devotee just because of that. No? So devotee cannot be judged externally simply because he is coming out from a Mercedes car. Doesn't mean, kya hai, aisa log kya hai, Mercedes mein aane ka abhi. Because he is using all the resources to serve his spiritual master. And inside his consciousness, he has got nothing but love for devotees. So that is what is important. Not the fact, because different people will have different levels of opulence based upon their own karma. Right? So we cannot blame them why they are wealthy. They are wealthy, but what are they doing with their wealth? It's important. Better than, so there is nothing wrong in being wealthy and being in Krishna consciousness. They are still better off than a person who is poor and who is very proud of his detachment or his simplicity. or who is blaspheming the Lord, but he is poor. So poor, rich, white, black, they have got nothing to, no, they are not considerations for assessing a Vaishnava. So we should not do that mistake also. So Prabhupada says that the real identity of a devotee is his internal mood and his attachment and surrender to Krishna. How much he is attached to Krishna. That is what is the hallmark of a good devotee. So not the erudition of a devotee, not the external aspects, not that kirtan mein kitna acha sur mein gaate hain. All those things are good. If it has, they are all embellishments, but they are not the real criteria for bhakti. One can be absolutely besura and still be his kirtan can be very attractive to Krishna, or one can sing like Tansen, but then he is not thinking of Krishna. Therefore, then that bhajan has got nothing. Lord is not pleased, or he may have full envy or pride in his heart. So, one of the greatest examples which will move you in the Srimad Bhagavatam is who? Which pastime moves all of us too deeply? It is Vritasura pastime. So, Vritasura pastime, you will actually cry. Srimad Bhagavatam. It's the most moving part. For me, it has been my most favorite pastime in Srimad Bhagavatam. Vritasura. Vritasura is a classic example of how a devotee should not be judged. Vritasura is on the demon side and Indra is on the Devata side. Indra is fighting against Vritasura. But why is Indra fighting? Though he is apparently on the side of the Devatas, what does Indra want out of that fight? He wanted kingdom, heavenly kingdom out of that fight. Though Vritasura is on the demon side, what does Vritasura want? Heavenly kingdom? Why was he fighting with Indra then? What was he telling Indra? Kill me quickly. Because I am very eager to associate with the Vaishnava. I want to go back to college. And Indra is throwing his club, his all-powerful club, and Vritasura is simply catching it and throwing it back, and Indra and elephant dono गिर गए. Right? And then Indra is completely confused. He said, "Abhi to kuch kya kar sakta hai? Kuch bhi nahi hai." But Indra has been given a small weapon, kind of a thunderbolt by Dadichi, which was blessed by Vishnu. But Indra doesn't have faith. He has more faith in his own weapons than the weapon which has been blessed by Vishnu. So Indra is thinking like this. With my thunderbolt, he has not got, so there is no chance for me, no hope. But Vritasura on the other hand is telling Indra, "Arey bhai, Vishnu ka weapon hai, it will never fail. You can kill me with that. I have full faith in that weapon. That weapon is meant to kill me. It has got Vishnu's blessings. If Vishnu blesses, I cannot stand in front of you. Take that weapon and please kill me now." He is giving lessons on faith in Krishna. The Asura is giving lessons on faith in Krishna too. So this is a very great pastime. So Prabhupada again writes in this section, a devotee is completely internal. Though he has got a Rakshasa body all outside, but its consciousness is what? Complete faith and nothing else but love, pure love for Krishna and the Vaishnavas. And intense eagerness to associate with the Vaishnavas and serve them. That's all Vritasura had. He wanted quick reunion. Therefore, his prayers are considered as the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. Just imagine, the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam prayers is coming from a person who is on the Asura side. How much can it get clearer than this? That we should not judge externally. So, his only prayer, he says, "I do not want bhukti, I do not want mukti." With Asura's prayers, I only want to, and I just want to quickly start serving the Vaishnavas and the devotees of the Lord. That is what he said. So therefore you please kill me, he said. An example is given that his mood was like a bird in a small bird in a nest which is eagerly waiting for its mother to come back and pick it up. Like that. He is waiting, "Oh Krishna, come pick me up from here." Like that. Or it is like the calf and a cow. These examples are given. So very powerful. And finally, another final example of a devotee should not be judged by externals is Bhishma in Mahabharata. Bhishma, though apparently he was on the other side, he is still considered as one of the Mahajanas. So completely, during the deathbed, that's why Lord Krishna himself is coming and giving him his Chaturbhuj darshan. And Bhishma is explaining to Yudhishthira about how to run the kingdom. He is giving lessons to Yudhishthira on Varnachrama Dharma. Which means just because he is on the other side also you cannot say. So even at that level we cannot be we cannot condemn a Vaishnava because so everything is all about ye andar ki baat hai. It's all about the internals of a devotee. So we have to always remember that. So Bhaktisharu Maharaj, he makes a wonderful sentence. He says that while we have to be aware, we have to be sensitive to the fact if there are serious. Please listen to this last point. Serious aberrations. You know what's an aberration? An aberration is a deviation from the original path. Serious aberrations agar hai, to alag baat hai. So serious aberrations may not be overlooked, but the idiosyncrasies of a devotee certainly needs to be overlooked. Idiosyncrasy means what? अरे मुझे पता नहीं डिवोटी लेफ्ट हैंड से क्यों खाता है? ऑब्वियसली ठीक है, बिग डील. अभी उसको है लेफ्टी है वो खा रहा है, छोड़ो ना उसको. See how he is serving his spiritual master. This is an idiosyncrasy. Or the way a devotee, maybe a devotee speaks, little bit, Bihari accent, for example. अरे भैया, suppose something like that he speaks. Then you ऐसा कैसा बात करता है यार? एकदम गाँव का ऐसा करता है. But we cannot say that. We have to see the devotee by the internal. So a devotee may have certain idiosyncrasies. Okay. So we should not focus on the idiosyncrasies. Unless there are serious aberrations, then we should never judge a Vaishnava. And even when there are serious aberrations, if we happen to, unfortunately, if we happen to witness that, then out of compassion, then we can bring it to the notice of authorities. But otherwise, it's not our job to correct serious Vaishnavas. Nor is our job to judge serious Vaishnavas. Otherwise, we will be committing Vaishnava offense. So that is the purport of this text. So next week we will do text. Prabhupada.